Picture this. You're in front of your latest prospect, closing the biggest deal of your life. Your pitch decks were perfect. Your scripts, flawless. And when the time came to answer the golden question of, are you ready to move forward? Nothing happened. For everyone who loves sales, this is their worst nightmare. But fear not, because in this podcast, we're unraveling the enigma behind those missed opportunities. From appointments that evaporate to presentations that felt like a Broadway show but ended in awkward silence, we're dissecting it all. Welcome to Love Your Sales.
This podcast is presented by GenHead. GenHead leverages AI so small and medium-sized businesses can find their ideal clients to make more sales. Other companies talk about AI, but we are using it every day to drive down marketing costs and increase revenue. Learn more at genhead.com. That's genhead.com.
Welcome to another episode of Love Your Sales. I am excited. I am joined today by Bryan Hayes. He is the founder and the sales guy of ElevateX Sales Incorporated. With 15 years of dedicated sales experience, he has journeyed through several diverse industries, each contributing to his growth as an entrepreneur and sales leader. His role started in 2008 when as an entry-level sales rep at a small remodeling company in Salt Lake City. He transitioned to operations manager to weather the storm in 2008 and really honed in on his customer service experience and skills. Breakthrough came when he discovered his sales superpower in Texas and became a daily practitioner of empathy in sales. He learned the true power of empathy by transforming body and mind through health and fitness, cultivating lasting client relationships by understanding their unique needs, desires, and goals. However, he quickly moved into commercial real estate, leaped out of the fitness industry, and became a CRE real estate broker at a top 5 firm. He is now the founder of ElevateX Sales, an innovative sales consulting firm that started in 2023 with a mission to revolutionize sales consulting through AI-driven insight. Bryan, welcome. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So why don't we jump in? You started ElevateX Sales in 2023.
I did.
What drove you to do that?
Well, I left commercial real estate because interest rates were rising. And I was like, well, I don't think deals are going to get done for a little while. And in commercial real estate, you don't get paid until you do a deal. And so I was like, let's try to find, some sort of salary position. I've never in my life, I've always been a sales guy. That's why I call myself the sales guy. And so I've always been, either 1099 or 100% commission. And so I was like, let me get my first salary job. I did, but unfortunately it was at a debt collection agency. And it just wasn't the good fit. When you have to explain yourself, it's like, oh, they ask you, what do you do for a living? You're like, oh, I'm in debt collection, real estate debt collection. And they're like, oh, so I have to always say, don't worry, I'm not here for you.
Right.
But it's the worst. And I was like, I don't want to say that for the rest of my life. So I left that agency, went to another one because, I doubled down. And so silly, I was there 3 months. They wanted me to do marketing, and then they started getting me to do sales. So I was like, okay, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I took the position because you wanted me to do social media marketing management. You wanted me to do ad spend management. You wanted me to kind of manage the actual exterior presence of the company. And then it turned into, hey, can you make cold calls? It's I can do cold calls really well, but I don't want to do them for you. And so I left the company and really was just unsure what the future was going to hold. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I have? Like, what do I have of value? And I realized that was my experience.
Mhm.
So I founded ElevateX Sales to be an e-learning company where I was going to teach my empathy-based approach to sales, which I learned in health and fitness, took to commercial real estate, and made sure it wasn't ruined by debt collection. And then when I started the company, I actually had a couple missteps. I had a terrible media company that took some money from me, didn't do a very good job. They edited one of the videos. We spent 3 days in the studio, recorded over 3 hours of content. They edited the first video, the first module that you would have that I would actually give away for as a teaser. And it was done, I could have done it better. It was so terrible. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, so maybe we shouldn't do e-learnings.
Mhm.
So then I was third party outreach. Well, I'll reach out for you. And I picked 5 different industries. Real estate was one of them, but I actually focused on the others because I thought that was an easier barrier of entry.
Mhm.
Took a couple clients, found out that it wasn't an easier barrier to entry. And then I was, not even a week, 2 weeks ago. So we're almost in a year, we're 7 months in, and I'm revamping to do commercial real estate exclusively. And that's really what I'm passionate about. ElevateX Sales, we're passionate about revolutionizing the way commercial real estate properties approach marketing and sales. We believe in the power of innovation and the importance of building genuine connections. So we've crafted a dynamic suite of services designed to really help the online presence of a commercial property, be it office building, retail, shopping center, or multifamily is there as well,
Mhm.
or industrial property. And if you look at anything real estate related and you look residential, it's all nice, flashy. They have great videos. It's all fun, entertaining. Well, let me ask you this. What have you heard about commercial real estate? Not much.
Not much.
Not
No.
much. It's kind of like kept quiet and it's like silent. It's like they're moving silently. These deals are done. But the people that sign the leases are the business owners and they buy everything else just like they buy everything else. Now they're buying this one thing differently.
Right.
So it's controlled by the brokerage community. And in commercial real estate, insider trading is a thing. It's like I have information about a deal. I don't have to share it with you. Now, if you want to be a part of the deal, I will.
Mhm.
And so they'll pick and choose who gets the information. And it's unfortunate, but none of that information gets out into not the general public, but you have to have a broker in order to get that information.
Right.
And I this that's got to change. And so I'm not destined. That's a terrible word. I was going to say destined, but I'm determined to bring a new light to commercial real estate, take away from the boring, dreary, ooh, it's just a building, it's this, it's that, to something exciting, something fun, something entertaining, guided tours, some not only the guided tours where I'm actually taking you through the office and painting the picture of what the space could be for your business, but also interviewing tenants, finding out the local community. Because let's say if it's an office building and you're moving from one office building to another, what are the amenities within the building? And then what
Right.
are the amenities around it?
And that's important.
Yes, because that
It's
is what retains your talent.
absolutely. I worked for a company that went from and people aren't going to reference this depending on where you live, but from a quieter community to downtown.
Oof,
And it was like
that's a big
kind of
change.
well, it's kind of a shock. You're like, whoa, okay, in that quieter community, I could go out to lunch. I didn't have to worry about finding parking if I was going to go
Up,
to a downtown where it's like, you might as well not try to drive because you're going to spend 15 minutes of your lunch hour just trying to find a
get out
parking
of the parking
spot.
garage. Just getting
Correct.
out of the parking garage.
Correct. Correct. And
Oh,
so some people like that environment. They like getting out, walking to a local restaurant. Other people, especially if you're used to for the last 3 years working in a building where you could just drive down the street, go to a nice cozy little restaurant, have your lunch. Some people like that environment. Other people love working in a city where they're like, yep, I'm going to
yeah,
go for a 10-minute walk down to wherever, a coffee shop, whatever. But that's a completely different,
it
it's a
is.
total different atmosphere, often a different mindset. Like some
Yep,
companies purposely get downtown versus in a more rural area because of the people that they want to draw in.
yep.
That
And
makes the
nobody's
difference.
telling that story. There's no
Right.
story. There's no, I'm not going to say that there's a TV show that needs to happen with me, but a TV show will be sparked hopefully from my idea. But it's touring and taking a business owner through multiple office buildings or restaurant spaces, touring them and finding out what's the best place for their business.
Right.
Kind of
Even
like
being
the profit, but
and
different.
and and it's so before we get in the weeds here, there was a couple things that you had said.
We're already in the weeds.
Oh, I know we are already in the weeds, and I'm actually already forgetting what I was going to say. Well, so I guess I'll just forget that. Here's what I'm kind of envisioning here.
Mhm.
It's how you can do these virtual tours now,
Yep.
and you have the what are the things that fly in the sky?
Drone.
Drone. There we go. Drone word. Um, the drone. I mean, so easily now you can have all of that done and basically present like, oh, here's one option with your bird's eye view from a drone,
Yep.
from virtual tours to, I mean, that's absolutely
And they're doing that, but they're not telling the story. There's no one there to tell the story, like there is in residential, where there's someone like, oh, here's the bathroom,
right.
here's the master bedroom. There's no one there directing traffic,
Right.
and they're not putting as much. I like call it razzle dazzle. They're not putting that into it.
Right. You don't
And
stage a commercial building.
no, they're not, and they
Right.
should. At
Right.
least stage it with renderings, and that's very simple. That can be done in post production, and
Right.
this. They can make it look like it's a occupied office, and so that's what I'm trying to bring to light is painting the picture to make the decision process easier, but also getting the word out because the brokers they don't have enough time to talk to everyone.
Right.
So they're going to go to okay, I know a guy that has a client that told me he was looking in this area. So let's go give it to him. Or they'll
Right.
go to a trade show or they'll go to a networking event and hopefully someone knows someone, right?
Right.
I want to take a step further, not only marketing the online presence of it, social media and
Mhm.
SEO management, but it's also the sales outreach
Right.
where we are stepping in saying, hey, we're going to do mass emails to every single restaurant tenant in a specific geographic area or of a specific type or whatever the qualifications are for that space, present them the opportunity.
So I find that extremely that's it's really cool. Now, so how do you leveraging your experience and
Mhm.
your background and what you've done in the past, how do you even begin to and again, you come from this industry.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yes. I was a broker myself. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you and
Force them to change.
well,
I don't
for
know.
yeah, force them to change, but so you must have
I have a
you
couple
must know
clients.
who to reach out to,
Yeah.
where do you begin that process? Because and for me, I'd be like, well, I don't know. I mean, I know somebody who may need a space. I know somebody who might be, and I know how to start beginning to create channel partners and that kind of thing, but where do you begin?
Commercial real estate, you go to the direct top. You go to the decision maker. You go to the owner of the property, the ownership group, or the owner himself, depending on what type of property it is and how large the property is, and the property's value and location. And you present them the opportunity to come alongside the broker's relationship, say, hey, I don't want to do the deal. I don't want to mess with any commission. You're going to pay me a small fee on a monthly basis for a specific period of time to provide content for you, shoot the content, release the content, manage SEO for a certain point, kind of get you up and running, and then present the opportunity to these tenants where the brokers can't do those calls. The brokerage companies are trying to do it. I worked for one for many years, 4 years, and my fiance actually still works at the same company, and they don't have enough time to do that. And software is changing so rapidly. So since the year and almost a year and a half that I've been out of the industry, I've learned so much about software. And because I wasn't so just inundated with being a broker, because it's time in your day that you have to make those calls and you have to talk to the people and you have to do the tours, and it takes so much out of your day that you can't do everything. So we're coming alongside that relationship, kind of like a support staff. So we're not competing. So we have to tell the story to the landlord, to the person that's going to pay the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm starting is the lowest hanging fruit, people I know. So there's a ownership group based in Canada. Actually, they own one high-rise building in downtown Dallas and one mid-rise building a little farther north of Dallas, kind of almost in the suburbs. I call them mid cities, but they have elected to get us to kind of, because they know that if we can prove it, it's going to be very successful, because there is a company that has a monopoly on the data for commercial real estate. And they're paying $10,000 a month to host 4 of their 300 properties on essentially a landing page that is ranked in Google that has none of their logos, nothing. It just is like a data sheet.
So
Has
why? So why is here's and there are certain industries out there, and I know that some of these industries are heavily regulated, which is why it's like to break into it. When it comes to buying a business, for instance, buying an
yes,
existing business, there's hush hush,
securities license and
y-
stuff like
right? And there are people who obviously, if you're in the middle of selling a large business, a long-standing, 20, 40 plus year business, you're the owner of it. You're like, I'm going to sell. You don't want your employees to boycott because they found out that the
that.
business is
No, then leave.
right. So, I understand why that's such a hush hush, mergers, acquisitions, all of that is so, but why do you think that the commercial real estate, when you're talking about an empty building, for instance,
Nope.
or a building that has tenants, but it's just looking to change hands, and really that's not, if they're renting the space, it shouldn't necessarily affect the renters unless they're looking at completely
Yeah. It doesn't affect the rent. Actually, if a new owner comes in, it typically improves the property, because
correct.
they need to put money away because it's a tax shelter. So
And
they
so,
need to make capital expenses.
then why is it so hard for, let's say I want to buy a property. Why does it seem so hard for me? Say I have $1 million. I'm looking to go. It's probably a hell of a lot more than $1 million, but
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to start. You can buy a property with $1 million. Absolutely. You
but
leverage it.
so I'm looking to, invest in commercial real estate. Why does it seem like it's so hard for like a person to just go out and say, okay, let's see all of the listings?
Simple answer, control, because it is a sexy industry. It's cool. Everyone's intimidated by it. I say I'm in commercial real estate, and they're like, "Oh, you must be a multimillionaire." Nah,
Right.
nah.
And there are
My ticket hasn't been punched yet, but they just assume certain things. I was a urban retail specialist, and so I dealt with uptown, downtown, the urban areas, the high dense areas. I represented several high rise buildings in downtown Dallas, and those typically those owners are billionaires, so they're intimidating to talk to, and they're the decision maker on whether they're going to sell the building or not. They typically do the negotiations, and so a lot of people are scared to have those conversations,
Here,
and they
let,
also like the power
let
and
me
the
ask you, let
control
me
that
ask you a question.
Mhm,
As a salesperson,
mhm,
and this is me personally, as a salesperson, um, early on, I was intimidated early
mhm.
on, but I have to say that as a seasoned salesperson, I've gotten over that, like completely
Yeah.
gotten over that. Like
All
if
right,
you don't
let's
want,
just shoot, see what he says.
right, right, I like either they like me, they don't like me, they buy from me,
Mhm.
they don't buy from me. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care. Like if you don't like me, that's fine. Don't buy from me. I am going to be who I am. I stopped trying to put on fancy suits and show up as a person that
You're
I'm
trying to
not.
say,
You look great.
thank you. My
But,
pocket's square and everything.
but sorry.
You've been
It
laughing this whole time. You can't even
it
get it.
it it comes down to like yeah, we're going to negotiate. Everybody either you're going to come to everybody being happy, a win-win, and you shake
Mhm.
hands and the deal's done. Oh, nowadays you 58 billion signatures and the deal is done. But the point being is that, I mean, do you still have any uncomfortable? Are you still intimidated at this point in your career by anybody?
I get excited because I'm like, ooh, it's someone else that I can. It's like another notch on my belt. It's like I just talked to another billionaire, and I referred to him by his first name. He called me. He answered my call, and he spoke with me. Like that to me, I liked that part. That part was the very sexy part about the industry. But I really think that it's so hard to break into it because it's on purpose. There's so much money to be made. These brokers are making millions and millions of dollars a year.
Right.
And they're transacting with millions, depending on what industry. Of course, industrial is doing the best. Retail is not as much. Office, if you're in leasing, that's great. If you're in office sales, high rise sales, which I took a swing at, I'll tell you, those big fees, they're elusive. Uh, they,
I feel
they
like
like,
all money is elusive right now.
yeah, yeah. You got to check. Need a check. Need my podcast check. But I think they like that feeling of not superiority. I don't want it to be a negative thing, but I think it's like I can do something you can't, and so I like that feeling. And so it's almost like gatekeeping in a
Right.
way. And I'm just a bull in a china shop. Like, nope. I came from small town, Salt Lake City, Utah. I had a teen mom. Like, like you can't scare me. But I just get excited. It's
Right.
really, you just have to flip the script. I get the nerves. Like even before I was going to meet with you, I got the little nerves, but it wasn't scared. I was just excited. And you just
Right.
have to flip that script.
Yeah. No, and I love my father always tells me that I'm a bull in a china shop and that I need to bring it down. I'm like, I am not. He goes, every room you walk into, you destroy in some way or another, whether it be a positive way or a negative way. He goes more positive, which is a good thing now that you've gotten a little older. He goes, it used to be the other way around. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
great. But he goes, you're absolutely but I think that most great salespeople,
They're
that's
like,
that's that's the way they are.
yeah, it's like,
Not
sorry, like I'm coming through. Like, sorry, watch
did I
out.
did
Step on your toes.
I was at a networking meeting the other day, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring. I was at a networking meeting, and I'm sure my listeners know that I talk with my hands. I was talking to somebody with my hands, and of course, this place was packed. I poked somebody in the eye.
Oh no.
he had glasses on. He had, but I still.
Oh, so his nose. He's like, my
So
nose.
it was more his glasses that I poked him in. I was like, oh my god. So
Jesus.
so when you said that, I'm sorry, I had to jump on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, bull in a china shop. So
Bull in China shop.
do you use a different approach when it comes to, okay,
Oh
here's a
yeah.
billionaire versus here's a guy who's, yeah, he's well off.
Well
Obviously,
off.
he owns a
Oh,
building.
oh yes. Very different. You actually treat the ones, the billionaires, worse. Not worse, but you treat them. You don't have to treat them as nice as the guys that just own a couple, let's say, a couple of shopping centers.
Explain.
Really, and they're just barely over multi-million. They have a. There was one in particular. He owned an old outlet mall that was. It's never going to come back, and it's in a small town, not small town, but outside of Dallas Fort Worth. He went to Harvard. He's the smartest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say his name, but he knows I'm talking about. But I had to treat him with white gloves. And I had just 3, 4 days ago, I had called one of the high rise owners in Dallas and I wanted to ask him a question about marketing. He's like, hey, I want your opinion on my stuff. He calls my cell phone. It's like, what's up, Bryan? And it's like just a conversation, you know? So it depends on the person's personality, really. Because there
Right.
are some billionaires where you're like, I need
Right.
to I need to look good. I need to present myself well. I need to act proper. You really just have to kind of roll with the punches. Some of them are going to be casual. Some of them are going to be official. Some of them are going to want certain things a certain way. So you have to be able to spot that real quick.
Right. So it sounds like it's not much different than working at, any level. You have to
Oh,
match their personality,
yep.
understand, know your audience. It
Yep.
comes down to that. It doesn't matter if they're a millionaire. And you're right. There are some people who
The 30K millionaires and the 100K. Yeah.
that they and I've known some very, very wealthy people who will walk in the room and you would think that they are dirt poor from because
Yep.
they
That was the
just.
guy that called me. Said, "What's up?"
Right. Because either they've come from nothing and built it and they still understand what it's like to grind,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
they've and maybe they've always had it and just still. No, maybe not. I don't know. I guess I don't know that I've
They're
ever
trying to
known.
fit a mold. They're trying to fit
Yeah.
like their royalty. I'm the landlord.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it could be that.
And I've met both people who have come from money who are more down to earth than anybody that I've ever met, and people who have um had nothing and then rose up and then become complete, like, who are you?
Yep.
What happened to you? And then people who have, and the flip side of that, like so I guess it ultimately, when it comes to sales, I still hold true that you just got to walk in, and to be a great salesperson, you got to quickly understand, know your audience, adjust accordingly. And I always go back to the mimicking of, if you're not
Sure.
understanding what's happening right now, mimic them,
Simon
and
says.
right, until you can shift to figure out, like, okay, what's the mood in the room.
Yep. If they lean to one side, if they fold their arms, absolutely. If they hold the fork a certain way. Okay, so I always get nervous and I truly get nervous when I eat with a client. I don't know why it is. It could be my grandmother. She's like, you need to sit up, keep your elbows in, make sure your pinkies are up. She was so like, she taught me the proper way of eating and dining. And so I'm always very self conscious about that. And so I think when I'm eating with somebody, mirroring is perfect, because you don't want to be scarfing down your food and they're like going slow because you're like, well, I guess you're just going to sit there as I finish eating.
Right. And
So,
I've had meals with people that they're taking the bread that was on the table and double dipping into the
Oh, yeah,
it's all over the place, and you're like, I thought you were supposed to be the proper person. I
yeah.
thought I was supposed to be the one that,
Raising the barn.
right.
Golly, that is number one pet peeve right there. Oh my gosh.
And
That
and
right
this was with the CEO, the owner of the company I worked at at that time. We were going and tag teaming this meeting, and I watched him like push the plate all the
I
way
bet
over to
everyone
the
was.
other side. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Everyone's like, that's yours now.
that that it's I don't like it. It's yours. You can have it.
Yeah, I had it
So
last time.
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
So Bryan, if you could give advice to the younger sales generation coming up,
Mm.
what advice would you offer to help them level up?
Ooh, level up. You need to decide who you are and be that person. Like 100%. It's very black and white. It's I am this, I am not this. It's I do these things, I don't do these things. And you need to decide which like who you are. And when you figure that out, you'll be able to go into rooms with billionaires and wear your Louboutins and Gucci belts and that doesn't matter. You're just wearing that because it's costume. It's not that's not what gives you the confidence
Yeah.
because that's very surface level.
I
You know, I
I have
they used to
sorry.
get teased, because I was actually going to wear a three-piece suit to this because that's what I was known for. Like I love vests. I don't know what it is. You just take off your suit coat and you're still wearing a suit. And it's like a half suit. And everyone at the brokerage firm would always be like, "Oh, what's up, Mister Three Piece?" Like, "Oh, going to see the king." Silly stuff like that. And I just enjoy wearing it, but it's not what gave me the confidence
Right.
ultimately.
And I have a very good friend of mine who every time he shows up, no matter where he's going, same thing. He's in a complete, like, dressed to the nines suit. His shoes match. He is like, he's just
Belt matches his shoes.
yeah, yes. I mean, he's drop dead gorgeous, like, all the time. And I'm like, you put the women to shame. Like, you in a room, nobody is looking at the women who, like,
Dude,
everybody, the guys, the girls, they're all looking at you. Like, you put us
that's
to
why you
shame.
wear a suit. Okay, there's another form of advice for the young. I'm not wearing a tie because I don't know. I'm figuring it out. But when you wear a suit, and I promise you, people treat you differently, and you act differently too. Give you a great trial and error on this one. Wear a suit and go to Walmart. You'll figure out that people
Right.
treat you different.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, King's coming!
Right.
Watch out!"
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So we are coming to time. I want to give you
Ah,
your 30-second shameless pitch.
my shameless pitch. Oh, 30 seconds? You're gonna time me?
Timer starts now.
Oh, crap! Time started. This is distracting. Ah, ElevateX Sales. We believe in the power of innovation and the importance of building a genuine connection. That's why we've crafted a dynamic suite of services designed to skyrocket your online presence and attract a flood of high quality leads to sign deals. In today's competitive market, the good old time tested standards don't cut it anymore. What you've done in the past isn't always going to work. So don't think, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is where we go above and beyond, tailoring our cutting edge strategies to your specific needs and goals that you have for the property in those vacant spaces. It's time to ElevateX Sales your property today. That's 30 seconds.
Awesome. You did great. I wasn't timing you.
Oh, I thought you were. You made me all nervous.
And how can somebody reach out to you if they wanted to do that?
I will provide my email address and my mobile number because I am that cool. Bryan, BRYAN, at ElevateX Sales.com. And good number to reach me is area code 972-399-6448. Like to help any property owners, be it retail, office, industrial, anything that you want to bring some relevance, you want to bring some attention, you want to get some exposure for your commercial real estate property, here to help.
Awesome. This has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. It's actually been a really fun conversation. So
It has
really
been, even before we
appreciate
got
you.
bothered by we were having such a great conversation before the podcast, and we had to do this thing. Too funny.
Thanks for joining us for Love Your Sales. For more, connect with Leighann on LinkedIn and be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think. Looking for a way to take your sales process to the next level? Visit us at loveyoursales.com to find out more about how Leighann can take your organization to new revenue heights. And be sure to join us next time for more great ways to love your customers so they love your sales.